efficient and complex the human body is. For example, numerous times today you could have developed cancer. Sometimes when a cell is about to go cancerous, it will commit suicide to keep itself from harming other cells. Your kidneys filter out 95% of the water in your blood for reuse and 99% of the salts. They also filter about 80 liters or about 18 gallons of blood a day. Our total blood volume goes through our kidneys 65 times a day. You can remove up to 70% of your liver and it will completely regenerate. When a pregnant woman has a seizure or heart attack, the fetus will send stem cells to the mother to help restore the damaged cells. The surface area of both lungs is roughly the same size as a tennis court, and the total length of the airways running through them is 1,500 miles. That's about the distance from Georgetown to Kingston, Jamaica. Human thigh bones are 4 times stronger than concrete. If you accidentally cut off your fingertip, as long as the last joint is still intact, the fingertip will grow back. Pound for pound, a human baby is stronger than an ox. Your nose and ears will continue to grow throughout your life. Without mucus, your stomach would digest itself. And there are approximately 100 billion neurons in the human brain, which is roughly the same as the number of stars in the Milky Way. See you next time on Bet You Didn't Know. Compliments of Sigismund Consultants, Inc.
This is News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM. Drink Pepsi Black for max taste, no sugar. Pepsi Black time, 18 hours or 6 p.m.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news at 6 comes to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC. With the news at this time, I'm Dennis Chabrol. First, the highlights. The People's National Congress Reforms Congress may be pushed back until early next year. The narcotics law is being amended to make it illegal to possess ecstasy and other designer drugs that are popular among youths. Police are probing the circumstances surrounding the shooting of a civilian during efforts to arrest him. Regionally, the Bahamas is using dogs to detect the coronavirus COVID-19. And internationally, private sector workers in New York City must now take a COVID-19 vaccine. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
Hate to stand in lines? Don't worry. KFC has got you covered with their drive-thrus, which are open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Movietown, Vlissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Reading Hoop, Parika, and the Amazonia Mall. That's right, you can drive through at 6 of their 9 locations. Remember, their current opening hours are 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Go on down and let your taste buds savor the spices today. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. The People's National Congress Reform, PNCR's long-awaited Congress to elect a new leader in the 15-member executive might be postponed amid a variety of persistent claims and concerns. Mr. Vincent Alexander has since been asked to determine if Congress could be held on December 11 and report to the Central Executive or the Congress Committee by this Thursday. A usually reliable source declined to confirm or deny Mr. Alexander's role. The source said that one suggestion is being floated is for Congress to be held during the first quarter of 2022 instead. Speaking on the condition of strict anonymity, one of the sources said major concerns center on how would all votes be recounted and additional ballots provided should there be the need for a runoff poll if there is a tie. The source said that the issue remained unresolved, especially because delegates are being asked to vote in remote areas of Guyana where there is poor internet connectivity. Another source said there is incontrovertible evidence that not all nominees have been notified formally that they have been nominated to give an opportunity for the persons to decline or accept. Issues that continue to linger ahead of the December 11 date for Congress, according to another source, is that a number of groups has not received the Congress circular that is used as the basis for nominating delegates, and in other instances, circulars had arrived with slates. An attorney at law has since written to the General Secretary, Amna Ali, expressing concerns about the process. A PNCR Central Executive member has also penned a letter indicating that she was not happy with the arrangements in Region 2, Pomeroon Supinam, for Congress. Teleperformance, Guyana's largest international call center, is planning to expand its operations to the Caribbean. Teleperformance's country manager for Guyana, Luis Barreto, told this company's 5th anniversary observance that plans are in train to set up call center operations in other Caribbean countries.
We are working on a Caribbean expansion. Teleperformance has a very genuine interest to not just grow in Guyana, but really look at what else is out there in Caribbean. As you know, or if you don't know, we do have presence in Jamaica, but we're still missing a lot of the smaller countries out there to be able to deliver. The experience that we've had in Guyana has told the company that the level of English, the culture affinity, and the right skill of leadership is there to be able to promote.
He says that in addition to the 1,200 jobs in Guyana, Teleperformance plans to hire 3,000 persons as part of its expansion in the Caribbean. Mr. Barreto says that eventually a number of Guyanese managers will be relocated from Teleperformance's operations in Guyana.
And I also intend for Guyana to be the main sponsor of that expansion, both financially and resource perspective. What it means is that we're going to be funding out of Guyana that expansion into smaller countries, and we will be procuring and providing opportunities for resources and leadership resources to help me branch out, which means there might be some relocation opportunities, there might be some regional opportunities that will be fulfilled out of this team in Guyana. So that is very exciting to me, and that's very exciting because Guyana will be put at the forefront of the expansion. Whatever countries we decide to go in, it'll be led by Guyanese leadership, which to me is very exciting.
Teleperformance's country manager, Luis Barreto. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says that booster COVID-19 vaccines are now more widely available across Guyana. He says there are no longer any special requirements.
Those persons who have received their second dose, but now we're almost 6 months after the second dose, they can come back and get a booster dose. So as of today, we would be opening up booster doses for anyone 18 years and older. You would now be able to get a booster dose. So those previous requirements that we've had, where you have to be 50 years and older, we have now lowered that requirement to 18 years and older. So once you have received for a 2-dose primary regimen, your vaccines, and now you're 6 months after that 2-dose, you can come and get a booster dose.
He laments that a number of persons who are not yet vaccinated He laments that a number of persons are not yet vaccinated or fully vaccinated.
From these numbers, we still see that there are a number of persons who can get their first dose but haven't presented themselves as yet, and we want to encourage them to do so. Make sure you get your first dose and then come back for your second dose. There are persons who have already received their first dose but didn't come back for second dose, and we want to encourage them as well to make sure that they get their second dose.
Latest official figures show that there are now 1,018 active cases, with the most being in Region 4, Damarara Mahaika. The statistics also show that 57 new cases have been recorded within the past 24 hours. The governments of Guyana and Ghana are scheduled to tomorrow sign a memorandum of understanding that will see significant roles for the private sectors of both oil-producing nations. The two countries are also rich in agriculture and gold. The Vice President of Ghana, Mahamadou Bawumia, hopes that the private sector can finance a range of projects, generate revenue, and improve the economy. He says the private sector's role includes solving problems, keeping interest rates low, stabilizing exchange rates, and reducing the cost of electricity. The Ghanaian Vice President and Guyana's Vice President Barra Jagdeo are due to sign a Memorandum of Understanding tomorrow. Vice President Bawumia, who is an economist, does not want the planned Memorandum of Understanding to be just a piece of paper.
We'll have some time over the next 2 days to discuss some more in detail as we meet with the private sector, with the universities, with the diaspora, and so on, to share ideas. But I think we want practical steps. We want to say we want to do A, B, C, D, and get those things done. We will sign memoranda of understanding and so on, but we don't want them to stay in paper. We're going to implement so that very soon the fruits of this strategic partnership will be obvious for everyone to see. And I'm looking forward to that.
Also speaking at the state dinner last night in honor of the visiting Ghanaian Vice President was President Irfan Ali. Dr. Ali says the Memorandum of Understanding will be a macro framework for private sector collaboration with a common aim to improve the livelihoods of Ghanaians and Guyanese.
Today, this is what these two governments are subscribing to do. Collaborating with each other, setting a framework that will allow a smooth flow for our private sector and for our government services. And that is why there is so much emphasis placed at the highest level of government on this relationship and the broadening and cementing of this relationship. For us, it is not just another bilateral or another engagement. It is a strategic engagement that has very measured strategic outcomes.
President Irfan Ali. The possession of designer drugs such as ecstasy, methamphetamines, and others will now be made illegal with an amendment to the Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances Act. This is amid increasing use of these substances by youths. The amendment, government says, will ensure that persons in possession of these substances will be charged and prosecuted accordingly. Experts say that the existing law contains a loophole as it only provides for marijuana and cocaine rather than ecstasy and methamphetamines, which are increasingly being smuggled into Guyana and are quite popular among young people. Government says the amendment seeks to control the possession and use of new and emerging psychotropic substances, otherwise referred to as designer drugs, being abused especially by young people. The Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit is on record as saying that these designer drugs are being increasingly supplied to school children. Guyana Police Force investigators will soon be able to take DNA samples from suspects who have been arrested, according to a proposed amendment to the Police Act. The explanation for this is that in addition to measurements, photographs, and the fingerprint impressions, a member of the force can take and record DNA information of a person in lawful custody for the purpose of identification. The draft law is to be debated on Monday, December 13. Under the hand of the Minister of Home Affairs, Robson Ben, the amendment states that anyone is deemed lawfully detained at any police station in connection with the commission of any crime or offense. The Police Act is also being amended to allow police to legally carry less lethal weapons, such as nightsticks, batons and clubs, chemical irritants, conducted electrical weapons, kinetic impact projectiles, and water cannons. The bill states that the aim is to reduce the number of civilians being killed by police. According to the explanatory memorandum, the use of the non-lethal weapons will help to reduce the number of persons being shot dead by police. The People's Progressive Party administration and the Guyana Police Force have been heavily criticized for extrajudicial killings of civilians during efforts to arrest them. So far, at least 3 persons have been shot and killed by police over the past 15 months. The Guyana Police Force is probing the circumstances under which a civilian was shot and injured. Early indications are that a man has been shot and injured after he attacked police with a cutlass and broken bottles. Injured is 36-year-old Marlon Brewster of South Amelia's Ward, Linden. The Guyana Police Force says its Office of Professional Responsibility is probing the shooting on December 1. Investigators say police were probing a report of alleged simple larceny of a generator in which Brewster is a suspect. However, when they arrived at his residence, Mr. Brewster was informed of the allegation against him. Police alleged that he verbally threatened them and armed himself with a cutlass. After the cutlass was taken away, police say he continued verbally abusing and threatening them while at the same time hurling beer bottles. Police say after Mr. Brewster broke 2 bottles and attacked one of them, he was shot to his body but managed to escape. The generator, which was suspected to have been stolen, 2 brush cutters, a stereo speaker, 115 grams of marijuana, and a smoking utensil were also found in the shop. Turning to news now from the Caribbean. In the Bahamas, dogs are being used to sniff out COVID-19 positive persons. One local trainer says the dogs have a 97% accuracy rate. More in this report from Eyewitness News.
So this big guy here is Oscar, and today he and his trainer showed us how he sniffs out COVID-19 infections in people. And with variants popping out all over the globe, this might be a good practice for government to use to increase their detection of COVID-19 infections.
Presently, Oscar has been in the program for 4 weeks now, and he is 97% accurate in finding the samples.
While the initiative has been used around the world since 2019, Oscar's trainer, Adrian Forbes, partnered with the Florida International University last year, March, participating in a training program and releasing studies in May 2020.
It has been the same results on humans, but it has been a small group that we have tried them on, but we are open to the public.
That report from the Bahamas' Eyewitness News. Barbados' Democratic Labour Party has taken the ruling Barbados Labour Party to task for dismally poor performance in several pressing national issues. The president of the opposition DLP, Verle de Pisa, at the weekend declared that it was ready to step in and rescue suffering Barbadians. More in this report from Barbados Today.
Government has dropped the ball, so charged the president of the Democratic Labour Party, Verle de Pisa, at the weekend as the party celebrated the 60th anniversary of first attaining government while presenting its candidates for the upcoming general elections. Listing spiraling debt, the high cost of living, high joblessness, and rising crime among prevalent problems, the DLP president declared her team is ready to take up the reins of power.
In 3.5 years of optics, our people are suffering from eye strain. The prescription, though, is sitting here among you. All the glitz and the glamour and the pageantry, no accounting, we don't know how much it costs. And our people are still hungry. Our people still need jobs. Our people are hopeless. And we see that recipe for disaster of high unemployment and high cost of living. And it plays itself out in the destruction of our social fabric.
DePisa accused the government of favouring big businesses while failing to provide adequate support for householders and small enterprises.
There must be an economic gaze into the future. And it cannot be the constant propping up of established businesses by giving subsidies. What about direct influence in a household by improving disposable income, by reducing VAT, I don't know, on freight? Because after all, what is the value added in freight? You can't help but bring the goods here. And we heard Dr. Clyde Maskell indicate that there was the fiscal space to do it. So that was in August? 4 months later, we can only conclude that there is no political will to do it.
President of the opposition Barbados Democratic Labour Party, Verla DePisa, ending that report from Barbados Today. And now for the international news, we go to the BBC World Service.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The government of Ethiopia says it has retaken the strategic towns of Dessie and Kombolcha, seized last month by Tigrayan fighters. The federal authorities claim they've made significant advances against the Tigrayans in recent days. Our Africa editor, Mary Harper, has more.
There has been no independent confirmation that the Ethiopian federal troops and their allies have taken these very important towns. And it's interesting that Sunday, the leader of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, he said that the Tigrayan forces had withdrawn from certain parts of the Amhara and Afar regions, he said, because they needed to kind of reassess what they were doing militarily. That does suggest really that perhaps they are in a bit of trouble and the Ethiopian government is doing better than it has been. And that's partly due to their intense use of drones against the Tigrayans.
The United States says government officials won't attend next year's Winter Olympics in Beijing because of China's human rights record. However, US athletes will take part in the Games as usual, and the White House said they had its support. Jen Psaki is the White House spokeswoman.
This is just an indication that it cannot be business as usual, that not sending a diplomatic delegation sends that message. That does not mean that is the end of the concerns we will raise about human rights abuses in Xinjiang. We've already taken a number of steps. We've been a leader in the world in leading actions through the G7, but this is just sending a message that given these human rights abuses, we cannot proceed with business as usual.
The Mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, has issued a vaccine mandate for private sector workers. It will come into effect on the 27th of December. City employees are already required to be jabbed, and some firms have imposed their own mandates on staff. Samira Hussain reports from New York.
Bill de Blasio described the new vaccine mandate for private employees as a preemptive strike against rising cases and the new coronavirus variant. The city has already put in place vaccine mandates for public sector workers and for people wanting to dine indoors or go to the gym. The new rules for private workers will apply to roughly 184,000 businesses.
A US-based missionary organisation says 3 of its members who were kidnapped in Haiti in October have been freed. Christian Aid Ministries said the 3 were safe and appeared to be in good spirits. 16 missionaries were abducted in mid-October after they visited an orphanage in Port-au-Prince that's run by one of the powerful gangs that increasingly fill the power vacuum left by Haiti's dysfunctional government. Reports say the gang was demanding a ransom of $1 million for each person's release. World News from the BBC. One of the Gambia's unsuccessful presidential candidates has congratulated Adama Barrow on his re-election. Essa Mbai Fall had previously refused to accept the result, along with 2 other candidates, including the main challenger, Usainu Darboe. Mr Barrow won a resounding victory with more than 53% of the vote. A court in London has been considering arguments by lawyers of the former Spanish king Juan Carlos to throw out a civil case brought against him by a woman who says she used to be his lover. Juan Carlos's lawyers maintain he enjoys immunity in the English courts as a senior member of the Spanish royal family. France is tightening coronavirus measures and aiming to accelerate its vaccination booster campaign as it tries to tackle a fifth wave of infections. The Prime Minister, Jean Castex, said nightclubs would be closed for 4 weeks from Friday. He's calling on people to limit their socialising, both personal and work-related, over the festive period. And where possible, companies should facilitate home working for their staff for 2 to 3 days a week. The opening ceremony of the first ever film festival in Saudi Arabia has been held in Jeddah, 4 years after the ban on cinemas in the kingdom was lifted. The Red Sea Film Festival will run for 10 days and show 138 feature and short films from around the world. Our Arab Affairs editor, Sebastian Usher, reports.
The red carpet has been rolled out in the old quarter of Jeddah as film stars from around the Arab world and beyond are attending the first ever major international film festival in a country where 20 years ago an exposed arm or leg would be blacked out in fashion and film magazines. Big cinema chains have now opened up in most cities, while a nascent Saudi film industry is being enthusiastically backed by the authorities. The first Saudi woman film director, Haifa Al-Mansour, is to be honoured at the festival.
Sebastian Usher reporting. BBC News.
That's the news to the moment.
KFC delivery is now available from the Amazonia location for shore-based Little Diamond residents. Call 632-0533, 632-0533, 6080-162, 6080-162, or 503-3591, 503-3591. That's KFC's delivery service from the Amazonia location. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
And now for a recap of the highlights. The People's National Congress Reforms Congress may be pushed back until early next year. The narcotics law is being amended to make it illegal to possess ecstasy and other designer drugs that are popular among youths. Police are probing the circumstances surrounding the shooting of a civilian during efforts to arrest him. Regionally, the Bahamas is using dogs to detect the coronavirus COVID-19. And internationally, private sector workers in New York City must now take a COVID-19 vaccine. That's the end of the news, which came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
On December 24 to January 1, you can get your greetings 6 times each day, streaming with your image on Christmas Day. 5-minute live broadcast.
All this for $20,000.
Or 4 times each day
for $15,000.
Right here on NTRG.
Call us on 614-8205 or 692-9400 for details. Merry Christmas from News Talk Radio Guyana, 103.1 FM.
This is News Talk Radio Guyana, 103.